There's a 21st century war being fought right now, but it's not with missiles or jets. It's being fought with concrete, steel, and logistics. This is the new battle for global trade, a high-stakes game of strategy where controlling the sea lanes is everything. And it's all centered on one of the most vital waterways on the planet, the Suez Canal. So, right now, Egypt is building something huge in a little place called Taba, right up against the Israeli border. And that begs the question, is this just another infrastructure project? A new port? Or is this a bold, decisive move in a geopolitical chess match that's been quietly playing out for decades? And this whole thing really boils down to two competing visions for the future. On one side, you have Egypt's Taba Arish corridor. It's already under construction, and its goal is simple: lock down their dominance over trade between Asia and Europe. On the other side, Israel's Ben Gurion Canal, a very ambitious concept, a dream, really, to completely shatter that monopoly. This is the setup for a massive strategic showdown. To really get what's happening today, we've got to rewind the clock, because the very ground where this new front line is being drawn, this strategic piece of land, was once the center of an intense diplomatic and legal war. You have to understand that first battle to understand the battle lines being drawn today. Okay, so back in 1982, Israel was supposed to complete its withdrawal from the Sinai Peninsula. But they didn't, holding on to key spots like Taba because of disagreements over the border markers. For years, the negotiations went absolutely nowhere. So Egypt decided to force the issue and took it to international arbitration. And then on September 29, 1988, the court came back with a decisive ruling. Taba belongs to Egypt. This wasn't just some legal footnote. It was a hard-fought victory that secured the very coastline that's so crucial today. And really, this quote just sums it all up, doesn't it? The whole fight for Taba wasn't just about a strip of beach. It was about sovereignty, about controlling their own destiny and their strategic flank. And that exact same determination is what's driving this massive strategy we're seeing today. So Egypt had secured its Sinai coastline, but Israel had its own audacious idea brewing. A plan for what you could call a massive strategic flanking maneuver, something that could completely rewrite the rules of global trade by creating a brand new waterway from scratch. And that idea is the Ben Gurion Canal. We're talking about a proposed channel carved straight from the Gulf of Aqaba all the way to the Mediterranean. If it ever gets built, it would be the first real direct competitor to the Suez Canal in history, effectively ending Egypt's 150-year-old stranglehold on this critical global trade route. And let's be clear, we're not talking about a small ditch here. The plans call for a canal 200 meters wide and 50 meters deep. That's massive, enough to handle the absolute biggest supercarriers on the planet. The scale is just colossal, an engineering feat that would literally redraw the map of maritime commerce. So the obvious question is, why hasn't it been built? Well, the hurdles are just enormous. Politically, the proposed route runs right next to the Gaza Strip, an incredibly volatile region. Economically, the price tag is absolutely astronomical, and that's even harder to imagine with recent war costs. And geopolitically, you can bet the regional and international pushback would be fierce. These hurdles have kept it on the drawing board. But make no mistake, it's a threat Egypt is taking very, very seriously. And this is what brings us to Egypt's absolutely brilliant countermove. See, instead of just sitting back and waiting for this rival project to maybe one day materialize, Egypt has gone on the offensive. They've launched their own massive project designed to lock in their dominance and really to neutralize the Ben Gurion threat before a single shovel of dirt is ever moved. Egypt's strategy is this really smart, three-pronged attack. First, they're developing a brand new modern port at Taba, which will sit directly opposite Israel's port of Eilat, essentially controlling the head of the Gulf. Second, they're giving a massive upgrade to the port of Arish on the Mediterranean. And third, and this is the real game changer, they're building the Sinai Railway to connect those two ports and, most critically, to tie the entire Sinai Peninsula back to the Egyptian mainland. And this isn't just a plan on paper, folks. It's happening right now. In fact, a huge milestone was just hit. For the first time in 60 years, a train has actually crossed the Suez Canal and entered the Sinai. That is a powerful, powerful symbol of how Egypt is turning this once isolated region into a fortified, fully integrated part of the country. And they are absolutely putting their money where their mouth is. Just the second phase of this new railway, a critical 125-kilometer stretch, is a 4 billion Egyptian pound investment. That figure alone tells you just how serious they are about making this strategic corridor a concrete reality. And this is what makes the whole plan so incredibly smart. This corridor is way more than just a trade route. Of course, it's an economic engine, but it also doubles as a national security fortress. That new railway means Egypt can rapidly deploy troops and heavy equipment right to its eastern border. It anchors new development in the Sinai, and most importantly, it strategically preempts and essentially scuttles any rival ambitions for the region. So, what's the bottom line in all of this? What we're watching is a major power play unfolding in real time. Let's just break down the state of play right now and what it means for the future of global shipping. When you really stack them up side by side like this, the picture becomes crystal clear. Egypt's corridor is a real, funded, land-based project that's already well underway. Israel's canal is still a concept, a theoretical waterway facing gigantic obstacles. One is rapidly becoming a reality, the other is still just an idea on a drawing board. And that's really the crucial point here. Egypt isn't just playing defense, it's playing offense. It is proactively shaping the facts on the ground. By building this corridor, they're creating a new physical and logistical reality that makes any competing project look less and less viable by the day. It's like a checkmate, but played with railways and container ports. So this entire grand strategy, which really started with a decades-old fight over that tiny piece of land at Taba, could now be the very thing that secures Egypt's dominance for the next century. And that leaves us with one last big question. Are we watching the final move in the long, long battle for the world's most vital waterway?